Have you ever brushed off persistent fatigue, a little ankle swelling, or waking up at night to use the bathroom, telling yourself it's just stress, just aging, just life? What if I told you that for millions of Americans, those small symptoms were the first whispers of a silent organ shutting down? And by the time the alarm bells rang loud enough to hear, it was already too late to reverse the damage. In the United States alone, more than 37 million adults are living with chronic kidney disease, and most of them don't even know it. That's the part that should stop you in your tracks. Your kidneys don't fail overnight. They decline quietly, gradually, almost politely. They filter nearly 200 liters of blood every single day, balancing fluids, regulating electrolytes, controlling blood pressure, producing hormones that keep you energized and alive, and they can lose up to 90% of their function before you ever feel something dramatic. By the time dialysis enters the conversation, prevention is no longer on the table. Survival management is. I'm BACSI doctor Mark Ellis, and for years I've watched patients walk into emergency rooms stunned to learn that what they thought was normal aging was actually advanced kidney damage. The tragedy is not that kidney disease exists, it's that the early warning signs were there sometimes for years, quietly asking for attention. The real danger isn't the final stage, it's the months and years when your body was speaking and you didn't yet know how to listen. Today I'm going to show you exactly what those early signals look like, what's happening inside your body at a physiological level, and how you can act before damage becomes irreversible. Because this isn't about fear, it's about timing. And if you're hearing this right now, you may still be in the window where timing is on your side. Let's start with the sign almost everyone ignores: persistent foamy urine. Not the quick bubbles you see after you've been dehydrated or urinated forcefully, but foam that lingers. Thick, almost like dish soap, swirling in the toilet long after you flush. That's not random. That can be protein leaking through a filtration system that was never designed to let it pass. I once had a 52-year-old patient who told me I noticed the bubbles for months, but I thought it was just the water pressure. His labs told a different story. His urine albumin levels were elevated, and his kidneys had already lost nearly 40% of their function, and he felt completely fine. Here's the science: your kidneys contain about 1 million tiny filters called nephrons, and each one has a glomerulus, a microscopic sieve that keeps vital proteins like albumin inside your bloodstream. When that barrier is damaged from diabetes, high blood pressure, chronic inflammation, proteins slip through. According to data from the National Kidney Foundation, persistent proteinuria is one of the earliest measurable markers of chronic kidney disease, often appearing years before symptoms become severe. And here's the danger. Protein in the urine isn't just a warning sign, it accelerates damage by triggering inflammation inside the kidney tubules. It's like a crack in a dam that widens every day. Water keeps pushing through. If you've ever noticed foam that doesn't disappear quickly, ask yourself, has this been happening more often? Don't ignore it. Get a simple urine test. Early detection can slow progression dramatically with blood pressure control, blood sugar management, and medications like ACE inhibitors. But understanding foamy urine alone isn't enough, because there's another early signal that looks even more harmless. And yet it may reveal that fluid control inside your body is already starting to fail. Now, if protein leakage was the first crack in the dam, the next sign is what happens when the water starts overflowing: ankle swelling. It sounds harmless. Maybe you blame it on standing too long summer heat a long flight. But when your socks leave deep imprints in your skin, when your shoes suddenly feel tighter by evening, that's not just fatigue. That can be your kidneys losing control of fluid balance. I remember a woman in her late 50s who told me she thought her swelling was just part of getting older. She elevated her legs at night, cut back a little on salt, but the puffiness kept creeping higher from ankles to calves. Her blood work showed declining kidney function and low serum albumin. Here's what's happening beneath the surface when damaged kidneys leak protein into the urine. Blood albumin levels drop. Albumin normally creates oncotic pressure, the force that keeps fluid inside your blood vessels. When that pressure falls, fluid seeps into surrounding tissues. Add sodium retention, because struggling kidneys don't excrete it efficiently, and water follows sodium. The result: edema. Clinical data shows that fluid retention is one of the most common early physical signs of chronic kidney disease, particularly in patients with hypertension or diabetes. And here's the critical distinction: occasional mild swelling after a long day is normal. Persistent pitting edema that doesn't resolve with rest is not. If you press your thumb into your ankle and it leaves an indentation that lingers, don't dismiss it. Ask your doctor for basic labs, kidney function, urine albumin electrolyte panel. Early intervention, including sodium moderation, blood pressure control, and medication when needed, can slow progression dramatically. But knowing about swelling alone isn't enough because there's a deeper, more deceptive signal that doesn't show up on your skin at all. It shows up in your energy, and most people mistake it for aging. And that deeper signal is exhaustion, not the kind that fades after a good night's sleep, but a heavy bone-deep fatigue that lingers no matter how much coffee you drink. This is where kidney disease becomes dangerously deceptive, because most people chalk it up to getting older, working too much, or just being a little out of shape. But when your kidneys begin to fail, they don't just filter waste, they quietly reduce production of a hormone called erythropoietin, or EPO, and that changes everything. I once treated a 60-year-old man who told me he stopped playing golf because he just didn't have the energy anymore. He assumed it was aging. His labs revealed anemia linked directly to declining kidney function. Here's what's happening inside the body. Healthy kidneys release EPO to signal the bone marrow to produce red blood cells. Fewer EPO signals mean fewer red blood cells, and fewer red blood cells mean less oxygen delivered to your muscles and brain. According to research published in major medical journals, anemia develops in a significant percentage of patients with chronic kidney disease, often before they realize their kidney function is compromised. This kind of fatigue is different. It feels like your battery never fully charges. You may notice shortness of breath with minimal effort, difficulty concentrating, or needing to sit down after tasks that once felt effortless. If that sounds familiar, ask yourself, has your energy changed gradually over the last year? Don't ignore that shift. A simple complete blood count and kidney panel can uncover the truth early, and treatment from addressing blood pressure to specific medications that stimulate red blood cell production can dramatically slow progression. But understanding fatigue isn't enough because the next sign doesn't drain your energy, it disrupts your sleep. And when your nights start changing, your kidneys may already be struggling more than you think. When your energy begins to fade, the next system your kidneys quietly disrupt is your sleep, and that's where nocturia enters the picture. Waking up once at night after age 50 can be normal, but waking 3, 4, even 5 times, especially if this pattern is new, is not something you should ignore. This is more than a bladder issue. This is a kidney rhythm issue. I remember a patient, a retired school teacher, who told me she hadn't slept through the night in 2 years. She assumed it was just aging, but her labs showed early-stage chronic kidney disease. Here's what's happening. Physiologically healthy kidneys respond to antidiuretic hormone, ADH, at night, concentrating urine, so you can sleep uninterrupted. When kidney tubules are damaged, they lose that concentrating ability. Instead of producing a small amount of dark concentrated urine overnight, your kidneys keep producing dilute urine, filling your bladder repeatedly and pulling you out of deep restorative sleep. Research published in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases identifies nocturia as one of the earliest overlooked symptoms of CKD. And here's why this matters. Sleep fragmentation increases blood pressure, worsens insulin resistance, and accelerates kidney decline. It becomes a vicious cycle. Kidney dysfunction disrupts sleep, poor sleep worsens kidney stress. Ask yourself, has your nighttime bathroom pattern changed recently? Are you producing large volumes at night instead of just small amounts? That distinction is critical. A simple urinalysis and kidney function test can detect reduced concentrating ability long before advanced damage appears. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Disturbed sleep is often just the surface. Because when fluid regulation truly begins to fail, it doesn't just wake you up at night, it starts to show on your face. And that next sign is one most people dismiss in the mirror every morning. And that's where the mirror becomes your warning system. Puffy eyes, especially in the morning, are one of the most underestimated early signs of kidney dysfunction. Most people blame allergies, lack of sleep, or just getting older. But when swelling around both eyes becomes frequent, symmetrical, and persistent, your kidneys may be signaling that fluid balance and protein regulation are beginning to fail. I once evaluated a woman in her late 50s who told me her under-eye swelling had slowly worsened over a year. She bought expensive creams. She changed her pillows. Nothing worked. Her blood work revealed low albumin levels caused by protein leaking through damaged glomeruli. Here's what's happening inside your body. Albumin in your bloodstream creates oncotic pressure, the force that keeps fluid inside your blood vessels. When albumin drops, that pressure falls and fluid leaks into surrounding tissues. During sleep, when you're lying flat, gravity no longer pulls fluid toward your ankles. Instead, it distributes evenly, and the thin, delicate tissue around your eyes becomes the first visible reservoir. Clinical studies on periorbital edema confirm this pattern in early kidney dysfunction. The swelling is usually worse upon waking and may partially improve as the day progresses. But as kidney damage advances, puffiness can linger throughout the day and may be accompanied by ankle swelling or foamy urine connecting the dots between multiple systems, failing simultaneously. Now here's the key distinction. One swollen eye suggests a local issue. Both eyes, especially with other symptoms, raise suspicion for systemic causes like kidney disease. So ask yourself, have your mornings changed? Has the mirror been quietly telling you something you've dismissed? Because what's even more unsettling is that not all kidney symptoms are visible. Some don't show on your face, they show in your muscles, and the next sign can strike suddenly, painfully, and often at night when you least expect it. And that brings us to a symptom that often feels random, sudden, and intensely painful: muscle cramps. At first glance, cramps seem like a hydration issue or something you blame on exercise. But when they begin happening frequently, especially at night, especially at rest, they can be a biochemical alarm bell from your kidneys. I had a patient who described it as lightning in my calves. He wasn't training for a marathon. He wasn't dehydrated. His labs showed electrolyte imbalance driven by declining kidney function. Here's the physiology. Your kidneys are master regulators of electrolytes: sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, phosphate. These minerals control the electrical signals that allow muscles to contract and relax properly. When kidney function weakens, those levels drift out of their precise range. Muscles become hyperexcitable. Nerve signaling becomes unstable. The result: sudden involuntary contractions that won't release. Clinical data consistently shows that electrolyte dysregulation is common in chronic kidney disease, particularly abnormalities in potassium and calcium. And the cramps tied to kidney dysfunction feel different. They don't just happen after exertion. They wake you from sleep. They may be accompanied by tingling weakness or even irregular heartbeats in more advanced cases. So ask yourself, have your cramps become more frequent, more intense, happening without obvious triggers? That pattern matters. A comprehensive metabolic panel can reveal subtle shifts in electrolyte balance long before severe kidney failure sets in. Dietary adjustments, medication review, and early intervention can stabilize this cascade. But here's what many people don't realize: electrolyte imbalance isn't the most uncomfortable late sign of kidney dysfunction. There's another symptom that can quietly erode your quality of life, disrupt your sleep, and drive people nearly to desperation. And it has nothing to do with pain. It has to do with relentless itching. And this final sign is the one almost no one associates with kidney health: persistent, unexplained itching. Not a rash, not a bug bite, not dry winter skin. I'm talking about a deep, relentless itch that doesn't respond to moisturizers or antihistamines, that worsens at night, and that slowly begins to affect your sleep, your mood, even your quality of life. I once cared for a man in his early 60s who told me the itching was driving him crazy. He had changed soaps, laundry detergents, even his diet. Nothing helped. His blood work told a different story: rising creatinine, declining kidney function. What he was experiencing is something well documented in nephrology literature: uremic pruritus. As kidney filtration declines, metabolic waste products that should be cleared from the bloodstream begin to accumulate. Some of these toxins deposit in the skin, triggering inflammatory responses and nerve irritation. But it doesn't stop there. Kidney dysfunction also disrupts calcium and phosphate balance, increasing parathyroid hormone levels, which have been linked to systemic itching. Add to that dry skin from fluid dysregulation and subtle nerve changes, and you have a perfect storm. Studies published in Kidney International show that chronic itching is common in advanced kidney disease, but it can appear earlier than most people realize. Here's the key pattern: widespread itching without a visible rash, persistent despite over-the-counter treatment, worse at night, especially if paired with fatigue, swelling, or foamy urine. That combination should never be ignored. None of these 7 signs alone guarantee kidney disease, But together they form a pattern, a constellation of signals your body sends long before dialysis is ever mentioned. And the real power lies not in fear, but in catching these signs early enough to change the outcome before the damage becomes irreversible. If there's one thing I want you to take away from today, it's this. Your kidneys are incredibly resilient, but they are not silent by accident. They send signals. Subtle ones at first: foamy urine, swelling, fatigue, nighttime urination, muscle cramps, itching. These are not random inconveniences of aging. They are messages, and the earlier you listen, the more power you have to change the trajectory. The good news is that chronic kidney disease does not have to be a sudden catastrophe. When caught early, it can often be slowed dramatically. Simple blood tests, a urine analysis, controlling blood pressure, managing blood sugar, staying hydrated appropriately, reviewing medications with your doctor. Small, consistent actions can protect kidney function for years, sometimes decades. Prevention is always more powerful than crisis management. If this video helped you connect the dots in a way you hadn't before, I strongly encourage you to save it. You may not need this information today, but someone you love might tomorrow. And subscribe to this channel because every week I break down complex medical topics into clear, practical knowledge that helps you stay ahead of disease instead of reacting to it. Your health literacy is one of the strongest protective tools you have. Most importantly, don't panic act. Awareness is not meant to create fear. It's meant to create opportunity. Your body is constantly communicating with you. When you learn how to read those signals, you move from uncertainty to control, from late-stage intervention to early protection. And that shift, that decision to pay attention, can be the difference between dialysis and decades of preserved kidney health.